right. Out in Colorado, storms coming in.
Yeah.
But right now, we got Adam with us right now.
Little windy.
Carte Blanche. Or carte, how do you pronounce it?
Carte Blanche.
Carte Blanche.
Yeah.
So the wind should die down here in a second. In
have to cover the
post-production,
mics.
yeah, and in post-production, you might not be hearing the wind, but it's windy as hell, and there's a storm on the horizon. But this is good vibes right now.
Yeah. We drove around for like an hour looking for a spot, so this works.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
You never know in Colorado. One second it's sunny, one second it's raining or snowing even.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get some snow here in a minute.
You came from Arkansas, right?
Yeah. So I was born in Arkansas, lived there, went to college in Arkansas and everything. And then I met my business partner, Lewis, on Twitter, like back in 2015 or something like that.
How'd you meet on Twitter?
So I had a t-shirt brand. I say a t-shirt brand. It was just kind of like an idea more so. And we got a DM from this random guy, and he wanted to buy it. So I DM'd him back, and I found out this kid was 14 years old. And I'm like, what in the world is this 14-year-old kid doing DMing me, like trying to buy this brand? So I keep talking to him, and I realize, like, oh, dang, he's actually done some stuff. So he had put an app, like, #1 in the App Store, and he had done some random stuff like that. So that's how I got to know Lewis, and that he's who I do Carte Blanche and everything else with.
Oh, he was the 14-year-old?
He was the 14-year-old.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
How old were you at the time?
I guess I was like 17 maybe.
Wow.
17 or 18 or something like that. Yeah. Or maybe, I don't know, he was 15 or 16. He was very young. He was too young to be buying brands, that's for sure. So, I was pretty impressed by that. And the whole way that I ended up linking up with him is we kind of stayed in contact. And the guy that was doing the designs for my t-shirt brand got in contact with Lewis and was helping him build an app. And so I go down to Atlanta. This designer's in Atlanta, and I kind of go meet up with the t-shirt team, and we're working on things. And I'm like, hey, let me meet up with Lewis while I'm there. So I meet up with Lewis while I'm there, and he shows me this app idea, which it was kind of like what Instagram is now, not what it used to be. And I was like, this kid's a genius. Like, we got to do something together. So that's kind of how we initially linked up.
Was your t-shirt brand like this brand right now, or was it something else?
No, it was called Southern Standard. So I had a brand. Yeah, so I had a brand in high school that I sold zero of. Like, I didn't even know what marketing was. Because, back when we were in high school, you couldn't go on YouTube and there was no drop shipping, right?
Yeah.
Like, this stuff didn't exist. So I had a t-shirt brand, got no sales, and then I was like, oh, marketing is a thing. So I started to partner up with some of these country accounts that had big Instagram accounts, and then I created Southern Standard. And so that was that t-shirt brand.
I see. Was it kind of like the same design style?
Not really. It was kind of like all those Southern brands, Southern Marsh and that type of stuff.
Gotcha.
When that was a big wave.
Woo!
So huge wind gusts.
Oh, the camera almost fell.
Yeah, we're going to have to keep a hold on the camera here. This is crazy.
Good idea.
Yeah, we have to get real close to the mic. But very, very different idea. And I left that company. I didn't make any money off of it or anything, but it's still running today, I'm pretty sure. I think it's pretty small, though.
But he didn't buy it, did he?
No, he didn't buy it. Yeah,
He sold it to someone else?
It was a different business partner I had. He just kind of kept going with
okay.
it. But it wasn't doing much at the time, so I was like, here, you can just have it.
Right.
But I think he still runs it today.
One of my favorite things about you is that you make music. And I see you, like, you're DJing on. What's the biggest set you've done?
The biggest one I opened for Arm & Hammer. They're like an EDM group, and it was in Atlanta. It's probably like 1,000 people.
Oh my God, what does that fucking feel like?
Bro, it's crazy. And I learned from that. That felt so crazy that I just can't even imagine like 5,000 or 10,000 people.
Right.
The 1,000, I have to keep holding the camera. That night, like my fiance, she actually asked me, she was like, what was your favorite memory of 2024? And I was thinking about it, and I was like, it was that night.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was incredible.
1,000 people is like, did these people know who you were, like some of them?
Yeah, I would say,
because some of your songs have over 1 million views on Spotify, right?
Yeah, some of them have over 1 million. So the one that has, it's like 2.5 million or something, I played that as my final song, and I didn't know if people knew that song or not, but a ton of people were singing it back to me.
Wow.
So that was like a pretty surreal moment. That was pretty cool.
Wow. That's crazy. No, I like that because we were talking in the car about how, like, a lot of people, they're all about the money.
Yeah.
And they don't really find themselves. Like, if you ask somebody, what would you do with $5 billion, who's in, like, I mean, most people in the online money space, they don't know what they would do besides, like, oh, turn it into 10 billion. But, like, a lot of these, like, CEOs or someone will sell their company and they're like, I'm so lost, I don't know what to do. It's just because, like, you've been chasing the money so much that you forgot to even, like, think about what you're doing or what you want to do.
Yeah.
I really respect people who do stuff for the purpose of doing it the best they possibly can, and because of the pure love behind it. Like, for example, Bugatti, like most people would think Bugatti, oh, they're just trying to sell. They're just trying to make as much money as possible. No, they're trying to make the best cars possible. The Veyron, they lost $2.5 million per Veyron that they sold, all in the pursuit of perfection. Same thing with Ferrari. Ferrari went bankrupt because all they cared about was making the best thing possible, regardless of the money. They needed money to make it, but they weren't focused on the actual profit. So it's like it's really cool to talk to somebody who's an entrepreneur who knows what they like, who also has that side of them.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, that's how we approached Carte Blanche too. Like, we were not profitable on Carte Blanche until our 6th or 7th drop. And even since then, like, we've been so obsessed with the branding, and we were talking about the photo shoot that we just did. We spend a ton of money on photo shoots and designers and stuff that, like, we just don't really care about the profit right now. Sure, like, you can't run a business into the ground not making money.
Course.
You got to make money. But our plan is like, hey, I'll make money in 5 years or in 10 years. I just want to build the best brand that I possibly can right now.
Right. You're kind of running it as if you already have like the tens of millions of dollars from it. It's like chasing something for the purpose of perfection and like making it as best as you can is like so much more valuable than chasing something to make as much money as possible. And that's what you kind of saw with I'm blanking on it now. Oh, Beast Games. So Mr. Beast did you see that interview?
He said he like almost went bankrupt from it and stuff.
He lost like tens of millions of dollars making that TV show. And he's like, I would redo that completely. Like, he goes, I'm not in it for the money. I'm literally in it to make the best show possible, which I think we did.
Yeah. And that's why no one else will ever do anything like that, because they only will think of it from a monetary stance. Like, hey, if this doesn't make money, we're not doing it.
Which is odd because Amazon financed $100 million of it, and he still went like 30-40 million over budget.
That's crazy. That guy just has like a different perspective on things. He truly just loves it.
Yeah, it's clear. You can tell when somebody's doing it because this is like they want to buy stuff with the profit, and when they're doing it because they want to make it as good as possible. Yeah,
well, that's what I always tell people, and this is what me and Lewis talked about day one. We're like, listen, we can like launch, we can take our time with this, or we can pretend day one we're $100 million brand. And especially in clothing, if you're trying to get into clothing and you don't act like you're $100 million brand day one, you're going to cut so many corners that the market's going to spit you out.
Yeah.
It's like even the students we have, I'm like, day one, don't think of yourself as like, oh, I'm kind of getting into this. You need to pretend you're $100 million brand. Your photo shoot needs to be perfect. Your product needs to be perfect. Your marketing, your content, everything has to come off like you've been in the industry for 10 years.
Yeah, because I mean, you can't get your reputation back. Like, if you're new to the market and you do something and it's like poor quality or something, you're never getting those people back.
Yeah, well, the market doesn't care. That's what I tell people too, is the market doesn't give you a break because you're a new brand or you're new at this. They're like, when we launch, they're going to compare us to Represent or Kith or whoever who's been here. They don't give us a break because we're new. So if we cut corners with our photo shoots, getting crazy again. If we cut corners with our photo shoots and our products and our unboxing experience and our email marketing and all these touch points, the market's going to go like, oh, that's just another tiny brand. We don't want to pay attention to that.
Right.
So you just, like, I think people that truly love it for the game and not the money, that's how they think, is like, I'm just obsessed with what I'm putting out there.
Right. I mean, look at what happened with Supreme. I feel like Supreme was a similar thing until they sold, right? And then that brand went straight downhill because it was bought by someone who was trying to make a profit on it from then on. But it's interesting because like Supreme was like the first like big brand to really do the limited drops, right? Do you pull a lot of inspiration from like how they did things?
I think Lewis did. So I'm not a fashion guy. Like growing up, you'd not be like, oh, that guy's a fashion guy. Like, I'm from Arkansas, and I don't know, it's just not like a big fashion scene. I've always enjoyed the idea of fashion and portraying like a certain style, like kind of Ralph Lauren. But Lewis grew up doing like the shoes and the Yeezy drops and the reselling. Like, he did all that. So the drop I did definitely kind of came from him a little bit, and he had a lot of experience with that and how we should kind of push it.
Gotcha. Okay. So do you think this brand would have taken off without Lewis?
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not.
And I'm sure that vice versa, when it's
a perfect partnership.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's a perfect partnership.
All from Twitter. Do you remember his username at all?
It's probably still the same one he has now, honestly. I could probably scroll up and go find those messages, honestly.
It wasn't something funky.
Nah, I think it was just Lewis.
That's good. Someone went back on my Twitter history when I was like 14 and found some controversial tweets and tried to cancel me 3 years ago. So funny. It's like, you can't hold someone who's like 25 to what they were saying when they were like 14.
Dude.
It's hilarious.
Nowadays, though, people cancel you for anything. Like,
But I feel like it's flipping now. Like people are kind of like when someone's getting canceled, it seems the general consensus is to look at it with doubt and skepticism rather than just like an automatic like get them out of here.
Yeah,
because look at like you would think Kanye would have been canceled by now, like of all people, and he's still killing
he's
it.
on a rampage right now. He's going nuts.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing too, the people who you see canceling other people usually are some of the worst people alive. Like they have so many skeletons in their closet. Everybody makes mistakes, especially when you're 14 years old. Like to try and cancel somebody for when they were a kid is crazy.
Yeah, it's usually like when people feel horrible, they try to make other people feel horrible, and they do horrible things. And it's like this. Joe Rogan was talking about how he doesn't think like if Muhammad Ali or someone like that had YouTube back then, I don't think they'd be commenting hate comments in the YouTube comments. You know, they wouldn't be on Twitter beefing with people.
Yeah, I mean, when I see people mess up, I legitimately feel for them because I'm like, hey, I've messed up a ton. Like, I feel like I've messed up more than anybody in the world, whether it's doing things that are wrong or just making dumb business mistakes. Like, I get it. And, you know, I don't know. Like you said, if you're trying to cancel somebody or hate on somebody, it's because you're so just upset with who you are as a person.
Yeah, I mean, I've told the story before, but when I started like the course side of things, I'd get death threats like all the time, and I wasn't even doing anything wrong. I was just getting death threats.
Yeah,
and it's just like I've noticed like when I've been in the worst mind states of my life, I've felt that urge to like push it onto the world, and I've seen people do that. Like I know somebody who's in a bad mind state now, and he's just trying to like push it on other people because it's like that spread, but it's all about like limiting it, you know, not allowing it to spread. It's like feeling good, you spread the good, feeling bad, you spread the bad, but only one of those is correct.
Yeah, and it's about having awareness too, because, you know, I'll slip into that, maybe even not like a horrible mindset for weeks or months, maybe just for the day I feel off, right? And then maybe I'm talking to Lewis or I'm talking to my fiance and I'm just like being negative or being rude or something, and it's just having that internal awareness, like,
right,
hey, today I just woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I need to be aware of that. So when I'm approaching these conversations, I'm going to get mad quicker. These things are going to happen. I need to just like slow down and like be conscious of that.
Well, it's kind of like on an extreme level, if someone's like schizophrenic and they have like a schizophrenic episode and they're doing wild shit, it's like, yeah, it's them doing it, but that's why like courts recognize like if someone has a schizophrenic break and God forbid like kill somebody, they send them to a psych ward, not a jail, because it's like they're not in fully control. If you look at like evil and hate in that aspect, it's kind of like that person needs to be aware of it, but the people around it also need to be aware of like anybody acting like that is going through not a schizophrenic break, but like a mental hate sort of thing, and that's not them speaking. It's like this energy that's allowing to consume them, and the only thing that beats out hate is light, or the only thing that beats out darkness is light. So bringing light to the most hateful people, it can change their world. It can change the world. You know, you change their world, you change all the world, like your entire world.
Well, I mean, that's, you know, one of the biggest principles in the Bible. Like God says, love your enemies. Like, what is it to love a brother that loves you? Anybody can do that, but you need to love your enemies, because that's one of the hardest things to do. Like you said, like when people are rude to me or mean to me, or they say a comment or something like that, what has helped me a lot is I've learned, like you said, it usually doesn't have anything to do with me. It usually has everything to do with them. Mm-hmm. So they're feeling bad or they're going through something in life, and it's very easy for them to be like, screw that person, or get mad at them. What's hard to do is to be like, listen, they only said that because they're suffering. I need to show love to that person and kindness, even though they didn't to me. And like you said, that's not just going to change them. Like, I mean, that really can change the world.
Yeah, it's like a virus, you know? It's like if you get a virus from someone else, you can self-contain yourself and not spread it, or you can go out there and spread it to everybody. And that's why I love the principle of making the world better by making yourself better. Yeah. Or you can make the world worse by making yourself worse. I've noticed that with the nicotine pen. When I was addicted to those years ago, I was everyone, when they saw me hitting it, they're like, oh, let me get hit of that. And I was letting everyone hit it. And then I stopped, and everyone noticed I stopped. And instead of people asking me, hey, let me get a hit of that, they're asking me, how can you help me stop? And I've helped like 3 people stop. So it's just that principle. Like if you allow that hate to consume you and then you fire back at them, you're making the world worse. You're letting it consume you, and then you firing back also contaminates your soul.
Yeah, it just keeps it going. And also too, what shocks people the most is when you do something unexpected. So if someone's rude to you and you're rude back, that's not a shock to them. It's fully expected. That's what people think is going to happen. But if someone's rude to you and you turn around and you're like, hey, God bless you, you're like, I hope you have a good day, or even something small, it like kind of breaks their frame of reference because they don't expect that. And as you do these things, or like you quit nicotine, like people don't expect that. Like, why is Scott doing that? And then they're like, okay, he seems happier.
Right.
You know, things are going better in his life and they want to be a part of that.
And this podcast is also brought to you by AutoDS. AutoDS is one of the industry leaders in all dropshipping fulfillment tools, but they take it a whole lot of steps further. Not only can you get dropshipping time down to 2 to 3 business days, you also get so many more tools. Because AutoDS is one of the biggest dropshipping softwares in the world, they've implemented a product research tool that tracks all their analytics, all their orders, and then you can use that data to find your own winning products and see where the trends are going, or even use a product that you know is selling really well right now. They have a TikTok ad spy tool built in, so you can even look deep into the TikTok ad side of things for all your product research needs. And all of it is automated. Gone are the days where you need like a VA going around and fulfilling these orders for you. AutoDS, it is completely automated. Not even just the orders, but also the tracking updates and the returns. All of that is taken care of by them. They already have a lineup of 500 million products you can choose from. It sounds like a joke, but that's an actual truth. But I think what really makes them stand out is all their worldwide suppliers that they're connected to. Because most softwares are just like AliExpress and their own suppliers, but these guys are, you know, Amazon, Walmart, eBay, Costco, Target, Overstock, Lowe's, and so many more. AutoDS is truly the all-in-one tool you need for all your dropshipping needs. So if you'd like to test it out, go to the link in the description below. You'll get a special deal through my link. Whether you're brand new at dropshipping or an experienced dropshipper, definitely check these guys out. Now back to the podcast. Yeah. There was something you mentioned before. You read the Bible every day?
I try to.
Have you read the entire Bible?
I've read the whole New Testament. Yeah.
So you started on the New?
Yeah, started on the New Testament.
Did you go back to the Old now?
No, not yet. So I've read a lot of the Old, but I haven't read it through. So the way the Bible works for modern Christianity is the New Testament is what we live by.
Right.
The Old Testament was the old law. So it's very important to know the Old Testament and to know what was taught, but the New Testament is important for today.
Right.
And then the Old Testament it's very long. It's a lot of wars. It's a lot of, it's pretty bloody. It's pretty intense. It's 100%. A lot of killing and stuff like that. So I will read it someday, but yeah, just the New Testament so far.
And so I'm not too knowledgeable on it, but a lot of people criticize the Bible because like, oh, look at God's killing all these people, but he never did that in the New Testament. Doesn't it have something to do with like Jesus coming down to cleanse the original sin, which made God not have to do that anymore or something like that?
So I don't want to say something that's not correct. I'm not exactly sure. So God doesn't interact with us in the New Testament like he did in the Old Testament. Like in the Old Testament, we have so many different stories of him directly speaking to people. Like he talked to Moses in the burning bush, and he would directly talk to his people. And then he would directly impact things, right? Like he would wipe people out and kill people and do these things. In the New Testament, he talks to us through the Bible. That's how, he speaks to us now. So, I'm not exactly sure why that is, but that's just how things are. I don't know. It could be because Jesus came down. It's something I should study.
Yeah. I think it has something to do with that. I saw somebody describing it as like we had an error with ourselves, which was original sin. And then kind of like on a computer, if like you miss like 1-0, the whole say, for the sake of the argument, game's like off, like it's glitching and everything. There's like stuff happening that shouldn't be. And instead of us getting wiped completely, like Jesus was sent in order to absolve the original sin. And actually that's how he saved us, because they saved us from getting wiped by bringing the word of God like directly like that. The burning bush thing's really interesting. Have you ever heard of that theory that it was DMT?
Really?
So
no.
Yeah, the Akashic bush in Jerusalem was like really prevalent at the time. It still is. And the Akashic bush has DMT like all in the powder of the actual tree of the bush. And so like if you light that bush on fire, you inhale that DMT. So the theory is that the bush caught on fire and then Moses inhaled it, and that's how he was able to communicate with God. Yeah.
That's very interesting. I don't know. God did so many different things like that, and I don't know how he did. I mean, that's why they're called miracles, but there's so many things on that. There was like one story in the Bible, in the Old Testament, where this like hand appeared out of nowhere and started writing on the wall. It's like, how did he do that? Or like, what? I mean, can you imagine? Like, it's one thing when you think about the Bible, it kind of thinks like, oh, this story. But imagine really there were people there that a hand showed up out of nowhere and started writing on the wall. Like, how crazy would that be?
Or even like in Ezekiel when Jesus came and he was in his form, but he had the sword coming out of his mouth and like all this weird. And he said like one time Jesus appeared to him as like 1,000 eyeballs or something like that. Like that's some crazy stuff. And so they say that demons are the actual beautiful ones and the angels aren't beautiful at all because the devil's deceiving like that.
And that's why the angels always say like, don't be afraid in the Bible.
Yeah.
Because if you have you seen the images of like biblically accurate angels, and they're like terrifying? They have all these eyeballs and these rings.
Yeah.
Like I think that's why they say like, hey, don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
Because I would be terrified if that showed up right here.
Yeah. Which is weird because you would think they would be like beautiful.
Yeah, you'd think so.
But they're not. I mean, well, maybe some are, because I wonder why the evil demons or whatever can appear as beautiful, but the angels cannot.
Yeah, I know.
Like it must be having to do with like true to something, but like I don't know. That's like a crazy like thing in the Bible essentially.
Yeah.
I'd love to read it. I feel like everyone should read it.
Yeah.
Probably all of them. But we were talking in the car. It's like, well, let me reverse the question to you. What do you think the purpose of life is?
I truly believe the purpose of life is to follow God and to bring others to God.
And what does it look like to follow God?
So to be a biblically accurate Christian, so first you have to hear the word, right? Like, you know, if you've never heard the word, or maybe you've never studied the Bible, first you need to hear the word. Then you need to believe that Jesus is who he said he is. Then from there you need to confess that he is who he said he is, and then you need to be baptized. And so at that point, you know, you've become a Christian, and then it's your job as a Christian to continue to live as a Christian, but then to bring others to Christ as well.
Makes sense. So kind of like just like what I was saying, like just being more good than evil, because that's the message of the Bible essentially, right? Doing others as you what I'm doing to you. I realized the other day, if you add an O to God, it's good, and if you add a D to evil, it's devil. Did you ever realize that?
I didn't realize that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's really interesting.
That is very interesting. That definitely makes sense though. But I mean, yeah, I mean, that's the whole idea. And like you said too, with why did God in the Old Testament used to have to come do these things and now he doesn't? It has to do with Jesus. The way the Old Testament worked too is you would have to sacrifice when you sinned, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you sinned, you would have to, you know, go sacrifice an animal to be forgiven of your sins. But technically you weren't forgiven of your sins. And I think I understand this correctly. Your sins were rolled forward. So you weren't forgiven, but you weren't condemned right then. Your sin just got pushed forward. And then when Christ died, everybody in the past was forgiven for those sins that were rolled forward. And then all of us moving forward were also forgiven of our sins.
Ultimate sacrifice.
Because the thing too, like obviously we want to do more good than bad. Like that's the whole point of everything. But there's no amount of good that we can do to go to heaven. There's no amount of good that we can do to be saved. The only way we're saved is through the grace of Jesus dying for us.
Interesting.
Because at the end of the day, we are sinful people, right? Like, I'm a Christian, I still sin. I'm still not perfect, I still do things wrong. Like, I'm probably going to sin tomorrow, I'm going to get mad at somebody in traffic or something, right? And the only way that I can be saved is not by stacking up all these good things. It's that Jesus died for me, and he is the sacrifice for me, essentially being a sinner.
That makes sense. I've noticed a lot of people claim as Christians, but then they hate black people or something.
Yes.
It's really weird. It's they talk about it all the time, and then they're like, I see them do just like the worst things. It's like, it's kind of like it's kind of like the word entrepreneur. You know, it's like people say they're entrepreneurs, but they're not doing anything. They're trying to do something. That's why there's a big difference between someone who says they're an entrepreneur and a big difference between someone who says what the fuck they're actually doing.
Nobody who says an entrepreneur, no one who's actually doing anything says I'm an entrepreneur.
Right.
You say what
you're
do.
doing.
Yeah.
What you're doing. That's why I don't like even. I've always hated that word because of that exact like phrasing, because it makes no sense.
Well, I think the biggest downfall to Christianity is Christians, right? It's like you said, people that claim they're Christians and they're not. And it's a tough one too, because, you know, I say I'm a Christian and I'm going to mess up. Sometime in the next day, the next week, the next month, I'm gonna mess up. But the real problem is people that claim Christianity on a Sunday and they claim it on their Instagram story, but then they go and the way they live their life does not resemble the Bible at all. And if I'm the devil, you know, you got all these murderers and stuff, and that's not really beneficial to your cause, because anybody can look at a murderer, people doing super evil things, and say, hey, that's wrong. That's definitely wrong. If I'm the devil, what I want is I want someone to go to church on Sunday, and I want them to post verses everywhere. And then Monday through Saturday, I want them to fully live for the world. I want them drinking. I want them smoking. I want them, you know, having premarital sex, all these things, while still confessing that they're a Christian.
Yeah.
That's much more beneficial to the devil's cause than true evil.
Why? Because it leads people astray?
Because if you are not a Christian and you look at these people who at least claim that they're Christians and you see how they live and you go, I mean, I'm a better person than they are.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
you immediately go, why would I ever become a Christian if this is how these Christians live? Like you said, right? There's some people that claim Christianity. Like you see those extremist groups that are on the corner, like screaming hate at people and stuff.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
if you're
yeah.
not a Christian,
Westboro.
Westboro. That's who I was trying to think of. You look at these people and you're like, if that's what Christianity is, I don't want any part of that. And so that's why I say Christians, not true Christians, but these false Christians do more harm to Christianity than anything else could.
Have you seen that guy? I think his name's Bryson Crawford. That guy with long blonde hair.
Oh yeah. I've
he's
seen
he's
it.
doing some good.
Dude, he's an awesome
videos.
guy, dude. He's awesome.
He follows it for real. He's a good
Bro,
example.
he blew up too. His story is so cool. How he was like maybe even about thinking about taking his life,
Right.
and then he had that crazy encounter in like a Waffle House, and that guy's
Oh yeah,
awesome.
that's right. You know, every time I go to a Waffle House, I go on the Touch Tunes, and a lot of people don't know this. There's a lot of like songs that they made for Waffle House, so you can be like "Lady at the Waffle House," "Pulling Up to the Waffle House," Waffle House coffee. Like yeah, it's a good
That's
hack.
funny.
And a lot of the Waffle House employees don't know that.
That's funny. I did not know that.
I want to get back to your clothing brand. So when did you realize like this was like how long did it take until you realized like this is a thing right now, like this is gonna last?
It was pretty quick, honestly. So we thought about this for 2 years. Me and Lewis have been in e-commerce for, I don't know, 8 years. At
Drop shipping?
Shaking a little chilly out here. You feel that?
It's like 45.
Yeah. So we did some drop shipping. We had a small marketing agency. Then we had a couple other brands that we sold last year, I think. So we'd been in this for a while. We knew we wanted to do clothing, but we were waiting till the right time, like until it felt right, till we had enough knowledge, till we had enough money for it. And so we kind of planned this out for a while. We got our first samples in May of 2022. And since that day, I've worn carte blanche every day, every single day.
Hell yeah.
We were talking about that earlier. And then from May, we didn't launch till August. So it took us, 5 months or so to launch, something like that. So it takes a while. The first drop, you don't know what's going to happen. Like you literally have no idea, right?
Yeah, because how did you get your following before even a drop?
So we ran ads. So we boosted Instagram posts, and we just boosted Instagram posts and prayed pretty much. And we told, so what we would do when people would DM us and ask us, we were like, hey, there's going to be a ton of people on the site right when it drops. You have to be there at 4. You're not going to get anything. And what happened is that like self-manifested itself because we told everybody that. They all believed it. And so they actually did show up on the site. And so we're like freaking out. It's 20 minutes till, like my heart's pumping. I don't know
How
what's
many
going to
people
happen.
were on the site?
Honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. It wasn't a ton. You know, we have thousands now. It was probably maybe a few hundred or something like that. But like 20 minutes till a couple people got on, 10 minutes till some people got on. Then when the email and SMS went out, all these people got on, and like I literally teared up a little bit. I'm like, it
Hell
worked.
yeah.
It worked. So from there, we kind of knew we had something. And then, you know, you're just kind of hitting wins all along the way. Like we scaled up within a year. We're doing 6-figure drops, and you know, we got celebrities wearing it and stuff like that.
Was that organic, or did
No.
you send it to them?
No, that yeah. So we would send it to them, but we never paid them.
Nice.
So usually what would happen is they would follow us and they would DM us and ask for it, and we would just send it immediately.
Have you ever talked to Luca about like his Von Dutch days?
No, but I've heard about it. Me and Lewis talked about
Yeah.
it a lot.
You
I've
should,
never
'cause
talked to him about it though.
I'm sure he give you like some good insights on some stuff because that's what
Yeah.
he did too. He just sent it out like because Von Dutch was already recognizable, but it was always like bringing it back. So he just sent
He
it
like
out to
brought
everybody.
it back big time, right?
Yeah, big time. And then they fired him, and then it went straight downhill again.
Yeah.
When
See-
I took it off forever when they fired him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I sold them all.
See, I think Lewis listened to a podcast with him on it because I remember when we were starting Carte Blanche, he talked about that a lot. He was like, Luca, I don't know how he knew the info, but he was like, Luca like brought him back and he did all these things for it. But
Yeah.
I need to talk to him.
He'll talk to you for sure because I'm sure he's seen your brand a lot too.
Yeah, we follow each other. We've talked a little bit.
That's good. That's too bad he's not coming out here this week.
Yeah, I know.
He's Denver this week.
Yeah,
Are you going to any of the events?
I didn't even know it was happening. So no,
Because you're
I'm kind of mad at crypto right now.
right.
So
Yeah. 'Cause
It's a bad week in crypto.
this is maybe a controversial question, but did you ever think about launching a meme coin for your brand?
No,
Good,
honestly,
good.
I did not even consider it.
Good.
And you would be surprised how many people approach me to do
I
that.
bet.
So many people were like, dude, we can make all this money and sell it to your customers. And it was not even a thought. And it goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of the podcast. My concern is not making money. It's building something great. And I knew, okay, we could make $1 million or something off this right now, but my brand will be completely dead at that point.
As we've seen with a lot of people's personal brands.
Yeah.
It's such a weird dynamic because it's like everybody wants you to until it's afterwards, and all the people who lost will get mad and all the people who won won't. So, but everyone wants you to because they want to be the ones who won, not lost.
Well, the issue with that, especially like my face is on the brand, people are going to lose money. With that question, and those people for the rest of their life are going to blame me, and they're going to hate Carte Blanche. They're going to hate me. It's just not worth making money off of. Like
Libra, everyone hates that Argentina president now.
Yeah,
which is wild. I mean, Trump launched one, Melania coin.
I was in Melania. Yeah, I'm mad about that.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I did well, but I didn't sell when I should have, as usual.
Well, I knew someone who put $600,000 in Trump coin at $33.
Oh my god!
And I'm hoping he didn't hold.
I'm sure he did.
But I think meme coins, like I told you, I asked AI, what would you do if you were the devil and wanted to control the world? One of the things it literally said was I would push meme coins and quick making money strategies on the public in order for them to divert them from true creation.
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like. Like, it's very hard to convince someone to now, like when I started drop shipping, everyone kind of wanted to do it, but now, like, why would I drop ship when I can make that amount of money in 10 seconds or I can lose it, you know? And then you got the whole aspect of like launching coins too. Why would I drop ship when I could just like launch a coin and rug these people? It's like very nefarious.
Very. And then, you know, let's say you make a little bit of money in crypto. Let's say you do something, you know, mediocre. You make $100,000, $150,000, even $500,000. You're going to run out of that money. And then what are you going to do? You don't have any skills. And I'm not saying crypto's bad. I'm in crypto. You're out of crypto now, right?
I'm still doing stuff with it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm in it, but it's very important not to just get obsessed with like hyper gambling on crypto and trying to hit a moonshot. You need to be building something too.
Right. But try telling that to someone who just made $1 million.
I know, yeah.
This podcast is brought to you by dropshipping.ai. That means this podcast is brought to you by myself. This is my website. This website is completely free for everybody. I don't want your money now or later. This is not some funnel. This is completely free. You get a free dropshipping store built by AI. You get free products chosen by AI, and you get a free course on how to use AI to dropship in the modern day era. AI has changed every industry. Everybody knows that, and dropshipping is not excluded. We have the most relevant, most powerful, most up-to-date information specifically tailored to dropshipping and AI fusion that we're seeing right now. And like I said before, this is completely free. I'm one of Shopify's top affiliates in the entire world. In fact, I was awarded top Shopify affiliate in North America, so they pay me to give you guys this for free. It's a beautiful cycle called the cycle of life. So if you want to support yourself and support this podcast and support me, go to dropshipping.ai, claim that store, claim those products, claim that course, and let's get back to the podcast.
Well, the problem is that person who just made $1 million just posted about it on Twitter. Some kids saw it, thousands of kids saw it, and they think that's going to be them. And it's probably not. It could be. It's probably not, though. You really need to go build something.
Do you know how much Pump Fund's making per day?
Insane amount.
How much do you think they're making on average?
I saw their stat of how much they made last year, and it was insane. I would say every day, what are they making, like 10 million or something?
6 million.
6 million,
But when Trump Coin launched that day, they made 16 million. 6 million per day.
That's insane.
So what is that, like 180 million per month?
And that's why everybody hates them, because that's so much liquidity just gone. Like, gone from the market.
Right.
So I think what was the competitor that came out?
Moonshot.
It was one other one that came out like a month or two ago, and basically all their fees like go back into the community or something. Everybody was trying to push that, but yeah.
Go back into the community, like if you have their coin, like is it like that?
The fees or something go back into the community somehow. But the problem with Pump Fund, and I'm not like a big time crypto guy, I don't like know a ton about crypto, but the problem is people see like a coin at $15,000 market cap or $20,000 market cap, you start doing the math in your head. You're like, oh, well, this coin's at like 15 million. So if this is at 15,000 and then it goes up 100x, like once you start doing the math, you need to shut your computer.
Yeah. Like I always thought when the shitcoin started in 2021, it was so funny when like a coin would launch, it'd be at like $300,000 market cap and the price would be like 0.00003. And people would be like, yeah, but Solana's at like it's $5. Imagine all this needs to do is go to 1 penny. It's like, to go to 1 penny, it needs to be like 30 billion. What are you talking about?
Billions of dollars of money to go into it. That's the greed side of things. And I've fallen into that, like, oh man, I'm up 10x, but I feel really good about this. It could go up 30x, and you hold and it goes back down to 0.
Yeah.
It's an interesting industry. I don't think it's going away, but it's a very dangerous industry.
It could go away.
Feels like it's going away.
Quantum computing. Like,
That's
if
true.
that breaks cryptography, we got way bigger issues.
Yeah.
Way big, because I mean, it's not just going to break cryptography. It's going to break every encryption.
Everything's done. We could talk about AI for a long time. That's very interesting.
Well,
very scary.
Do you see Microsoft's chip?
I did.
Yeah.
Like a new form of matter or something.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. A new form of matter. And like, I was telling this girl back home, she's like, yeah, my family, we own the biggest development company in St. Louis. And I'm like, because I was on the point, I'm like, they're estimating like 90 million jobs gone in the next 5 years. She goes, that's not going to happen for like 80 years.
Oh,
and I'm
man,
like,
80 years from now is going to be crazy.
And I'm like, where'd you get that figure from? Like, you realize like they're launching these robots now. And I was like, and she's like, they're not going to allow this to happen. I'm like, no, they have to, because if they don't, then China or some other country is going to take over.
Exactly.
And she's like, well, we would never fire our employees. I'm like, yeah, but you would quickly become not the biggest developer, because, how many employees do you have? 80. What do they mainly do? They deliver. Okay, well, Tesla Semi is going to take over that. And she's like, well, I'm like, well, I could make a company, pay none of my employees, do all AI, and undercut the shit
you get
out of you.
priced out of the market.
Crazy. Like, 80 people on salary ranging from 100,000 to 200,000.
Yeah.
You can just destroy anyone who doesn't. So then your family's going to have to fire everybody. That's the only case I've seen for universal basic income, because what the fuck are people going to do?
Yeah. Well, that's, I think it has a lot of issues coming. And a lot of people are pushing for regulation, and I'm not necessarily against it, but I'm like you. If we regulate, China's not going to regulate. So if someone's going to get there first, it should probably be us.
Did you see what that Chinese guy did, where he burned like $13 million to send a message?
Yeah, what was that? I heard something about that.
He said that they're punishing people in China by putting these brain chips into their brain and controlling them, and that who's the head of China right now? Do you know his name?
Jinping,
yeah,
whatever his name is.
Jinping.
Yeah, something like that.
They said even he's controlled by this brain chip by the powers above him.
That's what he said in the message?
Yeah, and he burned $13 million just to send that message.
I don't think you'd burn $13 million just to
So
lie.
for a prank, I don't think so.
That's crazy. I mean, dude, things are gonna get weird, and I don't know. I have a friend he's Christian, and he's like very deep into end times of the Bible and what it says, and I don't know. All I know is things are going to get weird with AI, like whether it is going to be true end times or not. 80 years from now, like that girl's talking about, the world is going to look completely different if it's even still here.
I feel like, even not to be even like pessimistic, I feel like the end of times are like around the corner, and I hate to even say that, because like I've always been optimistic, but like the writing's on the wall, man. It's like
that's what my friend says, and I don't know what I believe about it. What I believe is, like, I know what's going to happen to me after I die, and I'm very comfortable with that, and so I feel at peace with it, whether in times or in 3 years or in 30 years or not during my life. But I hope it's not soon,
right?
Because if you read the Bible, what true end times are, it's pretty gnarly.
Yeah. Do you think any of the Bible's been manipulated?
So,
because like I know they took out the Dead Sea Scrolls, but I'm wondering if they ever changed anything in it.
So the way that I see it, I don't think God, if we assume God is real and Christianity is real, I don't think that he would allow his book to be manipulated to a point that it's changed so much that we couldn't follow it correctly, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think, if you look at even like New King James versus the ESV or something, there's little tweaks and little things that sound a little bit different, but I don't think any true content to become a Christian has ever been changed.
Yeah, because they said they found a Bible, like the oldest Bible is still like almost word for word with the modern Bibles.
Yeah.
But there is a crazy theory. I don't know how you're going to feel about this, but that the Freemasons wrote Revelations, put it in there way back in the day, because that was their plan to like do a full takeover, so that when these things do happen, that's what they're planning on doing anyway. And then when they do happen, people kind of just like let it happen because it's disguised as the word of God.
Interesting. I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah, I'm told it's in when you become a 33rd degree Freemason. That's the book you receive with all these secrets, and that's in it.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I hadn't heard that before.
I'll tell you something off camera that you'll like, because someone I know is friends with someone who used to be a Red Cardinal at the Vatican, and he had access to the Vatican archives, and there's some crazy stuff.
And he knew him personally?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that off camera.
I know. Sure. I had to censor it on Luke's podcast because I told him, because I don't think he wants that information going out.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear that for sure.
There's some stuff down there for sure. 8 miles long. Come on,
dude. I can't even fathom what is down there.
Yeah. I think the oldest book is like 700 AD or something like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people think that they burned the Book of Alexandria to take all those books and place it under there to keep that knowledge about like what the pyramids were for and how to use them and all that.
That's a whole other thing we could talk about 3 hours on is pyramids in Egypt and all that.
But I want to get to how you started making music.
Yeah. So I grew up playing piano. Like my grandma took me to piano lessons. So I took lessons for like 5 years. I wasn't a very good student because I never practiced, but I enjoyed it a lot and I always liked music. And then in middle school and high school, I joined band. So I was in percussion. And then like I did drumline and all that stuff in high school, but I had to quit because of football. And then in high school was like Avicii.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace to Avicii. Who else was back then? Oh, Skrillex, like all those guys.
Oh yeah.
Once I heard that, I was like, okay, this is it. Like,
what was that song? Dirty Sprites.
Dirty Sprites.
When that came out, I remember being so shocked because I'm like, wow, this is the beginning of a new genre right here.
Yeah.
I never heard anything like this before.
Same, dude. I always do. I wanted to make music someday, and then I heard that, and I was like, oh, this is what I want to do.
And playing the piano, I mean, that's so beneficial because like you basically play the piano when you make that music, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like I have a keyboard and I use all that. So like I knew I wanted to do EDM someday, and then I go to college, I get distracted. Like it was always at the back of my mind. I knew I would do it someday. And then I would kind of be off and on. I would like get obsessed with it, and for 3 weeks I would like watch every YouTube video I could on producing and like make something that sounded terrible, and then I wouldn't do it again for 6 months. And then I started to hear like Illenium and that type of era, and that's when I knew, okay, this is exactly what I want to make. Then probably 3 years ago or so, I started taking it like very seriously.
And how did that process go?
So it initially was a lot of learning. I mean, like you just started making music and you see just
right.
The learning curve is crazy.
Were you watching YouTube videos and all that?
Yeah, so I watched a lot of YouTube videos.
Did you buy any courses on it?
I didn't buy any courses, but I bought lessons. So there's a guy named Culture Code, and my biggest song actually we collabed on together.
Amazing.
But I bought his lessons, and he taught me like a ton. So that's
were they
where I
in person?
They were online.
Nice.
He's in the UK.
Oh, okay.
So they're on Zoom, but he taught me like the bulk of what I know by far.
Yeah. Do you think everybody has? There's a big difference between has and should, but do you think everybody in them has that creative ability to make something like creative? Does that make sense?
I think if we go back to the Bible, you know, God is the ultimate creator, right? Like he created, and it says we're made in his image. And I think sometimes people, or at least when I was young, I didn't understand that. I was like, we look like God? Like I don't get that. But I think what that verse means is he made us in the image. He's a creator. We're creators too. And I think that's what we're meant to do. Like for some people it's music, for some people it's businesses, for some people it's art, for some people it's plays, for some people it's whatever.
Yeah.
I think we're designed to create. And I think, and it doesn't even have to be your primary thing. It doesn't have to be how you make money. It could just be a hobby on the side. But I think when you limit that and you don't create, like it really hurts your soul.
Which is why probably like meme coins have been so pushed.
Yeah.
Consume. I had this idea 2 years ago. I'm like, okay, my New Year's resolution is to create and not consume. And because I feel like the majority of people consume, the majority of all relationships are based on consumption, and the majority of life is consumption. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus on creating. But then I realized there's creation, there's consuming, and then there's a third option, creation while consuming. Right now, Snapchat is allowing me to offer you a special deal where if you spend $350 in ads, you're gonna get $375 in ad credits. Snapchat's often one of the most overlooked advertising platforms there is, but it's also one of the largest. So if you have ads running on other platforms that are already working, take advantage of this deal just to see what would happen if you took it over to Snapchat, because Snapchat is a whole different audience, and the average Snapchat user opens it 40 times a day. I know a lot of you watching right now open it maybe 60 times a day. So you might as well go ahead and try this out, because you would be surprised how well this works and how many businesses this has really, really scaled up for. All right, that was intense.
It was getting a little chilly out there.
It got so cold we had our audio cut out, and we're like, all right, let's just head in and do the rest here. But you were just talking about how I think it probably cut out where, like you said, you were taking lessons from that guy.
Oh yeah. So I took lessons from this guy named Culture Code. He's been making music for, I don't know, 10 years at this point. He was kind of bigger back in the day, but he taught me like everything I know now, pretty much. That was extremely valuable. That probably sped up my producing by years.
Now let me ask you this. Does you making music have an effect on your clothing brand?
I don't think so.
Because there's that old Japanese saying where it said the greatest swordsman must be a cultured man or something like that. It basically says how you do anything is how you do everything. So I could see how the creativity that is brewed within music, you can transfer that same force over to a clothing brand. Yeah,
I would say the creative aspect is very similar. Like probably the creative process and how I think about things and how I obsess about things. Like for example, I have a song coming out next week, and I don't even know how long I spent making the song, like 40 hours or something. I probably spent at least 5 or 6 hours making the album art. And
damn.
Like, if it wasn't because of carte blanche and like me having that obsession with detail, I'd probably just run something through Midjourney and just call it a day. But I'm obsessed with every aspect of music.
So are you the one who created all the designs for carte blanche?
No, we have designers.
I see.
Yeah, so I'm not a designer myself. I can make album art. That's a little bit easier. But when it comes to true design, usually the way that we work, and we've worked with a bunch of different designers, we'll kind of come up with the concepts and the direction of what we want. We'll send it to designers, they'll make it, and then we kind of keep having them tweak it until it's where we want it to be.
Oh, okay, I see. So in a way, you kind of create the concept and they fine tune it.
Yeah, basically.
Do you master your music?
No.
Okay,
no.
So it's kind of like making a song and then sending it over to get mastered.
Yeah, same idea.
Okay.
Maybe I'll master someday, I'm not sure, but I'm not good enough at mastering yet to be where I want it to be, so I send it off. Same with designing. I can design, but I can't design well enough to be where I want it to be, so I send it off.
Where did your designing start?
So initially we had a third guy that was kind of with me and Lewis, who had done some design work with us in the past, and so he did all the initial designs, and then from there over time we've just hired so many different people that we worked with. Honestly, not at all. Like I used to actually say I'm not creative. Like I would openly state I'm not a creative person. I was heavily math and science. And I think the creativity came out of my desire to make things. So I realized if I want to make music, if I want to build brands and make clothing, I have to become creative. And then I think what that process taught me too is anybody can become creative. Like you were asking me earlier, like, do you think everybody can or should be creative? I think we were designed by God to be creative. And the process of me going from this strictly numbers and math and science guy to, in my opinion, very creative now, taught me that anybody can be creative.
Do you think creativity comes from internal or external? Like a lot of people say that all creative actions come from some sort of like force beyond us, and it's kind of like we're the antennas for it.
I 100% believe that.
Yeah.
I believe without a doubt. I actually told somebody this the other day. Maybe I texted it to you. I can't remember. Like when I make a song, I don't think it comes from me at all.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it, does it?
Yeah, like when I stand up and the song's done, it's like something weird happened. I went on a trip and like there's just a song out there, and I really think I'm just the vessel for it.
Yeah, I think that's the best artists say that too.
Yeah.
They're very humble because it doesn't seem like they take full credit for it, because it seems like they're kind of just the pathogens for it.
Well, it's really weird. Like, people will DM me and say, like, actually, I literally today, it was weird. It's one of the first times it happened with this guy DM me, and he's like, hey, dude, this song that you made, it literally saved my life.
Oh my God.
But it feels weird when people congratulate me on music and stuff, because I almost don't feel like I made it.
Right.
I'm like, it's not me. I'm not even creative. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. It just kind of like came to me,
Right.
I guess.
It's like I always say music is kind of like a 1,000 piece puzzle with a million pieces, and you got to sift through all the pieces to find the 1,000 pieces and put it together.
But dude, when you put that final piece in, and you can step back and look at the puzzle, like, that's the best feeling ever.
It feels like well, it's kind of like a puzzle. It feels like it already has been made. You're just kind of connecting it to be put together again. It's like a really weird feeling.
Yeah. Well, I've described it to people too. It's like a granite rock, and I'm just chiseling until it's done.
Yeah.
Like, it's already in there. I just got to go find it.
Damn, that's a good way to put it.
And it literally will feel that way too. Like, when I'm making a drop on a song, the first drop I make is never the right one ever, and I can feel it. Like, just something tells me that's not right, and I keep chiseling away, and I keep adding new sounds and changing things, and I keep chiseling, and then I just internally in my gut can feel like, okay, I've revealed it now. Not I've created it, I've revealed it.
Revealed it. That's a good way to put it. Do you ever feel that way with your clothing brand too?
Yeah, I do. Maybe a little less so, because with music, it's mainly just me, right? Like, it's just kind of me sitting there doing it.
Right.
And then with clothing, like, Lewis is a huge part, and he has a lot of inspiration. There's designers. So it's maybe a little less of that, but I can feel when it's right and when it's wrong. And I've put out stuff that didn't feel right, and it didn't sell well. It didn't feel right when I posted it. The customers didn't react to it the right way. Like, you can tell when you're putting out something that you've revealed, and you can tell when you put out something that you like just forced to get out there.
What's been the product, not like product like hats in general, but was there a specific design that sold the least, and what's been the most design that sold the most?
So the best selling has been these, like, just we call this the classic hat.
I see the orange one all the time.
Yeah, so this in a bunch of colorways, and then we have one called the Pay Tous Légers. I don't even really know how to say it. It's French words, and that one's done really well. We've had a bunch, honestly, that don't do well. We've kind of got it down to a science, though, of how we test products, because you kind of have a feeling maybe it'll do well, but I'm not sure. So we'll test it at low quantity. Then if it crushes it, then we'll scale it. But we've had a bunch not do well.
When you started, did you always have the supply on hand, or did you ever like do print on demand sort of stuff?
No, we always had supply.
Good, yeah.
And that was part of that being like, hey, we're a $100 million brand. We're obsessed from day one. What we used to do, we can't do it now because we sell too much, but when we would do a drop, the second we would do the drop, we would start shipping. Like, you would order from us and you would get a shipping notification within like an hour. We would ship it that night. We always do drops on Tuesday. By Friday and Saturday, when you were going out and doing stuff, you were wearing the hat that you bought on Tuesday. So that's one of the reasons that we always dropped on Tuesday too.
Wait, so you said it ships on Tuesday and it's there by Friday?
Yeah, like by that weekend you have your product. Because what we wanted was you could order it, it ships that night, you have it by the weekend, so whether you're going out with friends or whatever, you're already wearing your order from Tuesday.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Like, it's not like print on demand can take weeks. Or like even Yeezy's, he has product and that can take like 3 weeks to ship too.
Yeah, so many people mess it up by doing that. You can build a brand off doing it, but it's much tougher because one of the biggest pieces of a strong brand is the customer experience. And if you have great designs and high quality product and all these things, but then someone has to wait weeks for it, you've just destroyed your customer experience.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense because it really comes down to the customer experience. Like, you can have the best design ever. I mean, look what happened with Anti-Social Social Club, you know?
Yeah.
You know all about like how he didn't ship for a while and started
Lewis
flexing.
told me some about that stuff. Yeah, and then like and he played along with it. Apparently, he like even made shirts saying like, I forget what all it was, but yeah, I heard that.
He probably didn't ship those too. It's like the biggest company I've ever seen to do no ship.
Yeah, that's crazy. But you just have to be obsessed with it. And in today's world, like, Amazon has screwed all of us. People want their stuff immediately. Like in Denver or any big city, if I order something right before I go to bed, it's there in the morning.
Right, yeah.
So between TikTok and immediate dopamine and Amazon and all these things, if you're shipping anything, even if it even takes a week to ship it out, customers are going to be mad.
Yeah, it's a different world. Like before, I remember before Amazon Prime, I would always expect like 5 to 7 days for everything.
Yeah.
And now it's overnight, like you were saying.
Literally, if there's two options and one will be here in 2 days and one will be here in the morning, I always get the one in the morning. I'm like,
Always.
I can't wait a day.
Right.
I have to have this tomorrow.
Right, $2 extra.
Yo, every time you got to do it.
Do you offer that? Like, do you offer overnight shipping or no? Just all?
We don't do that. We just do the standard shipping for everything.
Have you ever thought about it?
We've considered it. I don't know. So what's kind of unique about us is we own the 3PL that we ship out of. So like Carte Blanche is a client to the 3PL that we own.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you do other brands too?
Yeah. So we ship.
Oh.
So in that warehouse, we own half the warehouse. This is all kind of outside of Atlanta. Half of it's UV printing. So we do UV printing on belts and dog collars and acrylic and Apple Watch bands and stuff. And a lot of that, like we do Printify. We're fulfillment for Printify, and then like Lexus and Toyota, these big companies. And the other half is a 3PL. And then 3PL we ship for like jewelry brands and skincare brands, a lot of clothing brands. So Carte Blanche is part of that. So we kind of treat Carte Blanche like a client. We kind of do the same shipping that we do for everybody.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. Well, Adam, it was great. Great to have you.
It was good.
This was a chaotic podcast,
This
but
was
I
a
loved
crazy
it.
one. We've been trying to do this for like a year, so at least we got it done.
Absolutely. I can't wait for the next one.
Cool. Sounds good, man.
Cool. See ya.